A powerful storm system is set to impact the United States over the next few days, and this will bring the return of significant severe weather, which includes damaging winds, very large hail, and tornadoes. Additionally, we are expecting a major flooding threat to take place in parts of the Central Plains ahead of a very potent storm system. So in today's forecast, we are going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 days, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country today. And over the last 24 hours, we've actually had some pretty crazy severe weather. Back over in Colorado, we had a bunch of gustnadoes and tornadoes. In fact, we had multiple photogenic tornadoes and huge hail, especially back over in northeastern Colorado. Luckily, most of the tornadoes that happened yesterday were in open fields, but I do think there's going to be more tornadoes today, including areas like Colorado, even back over in Texas and Oklahoma, and perhaps back through parts of the Dixie Alley. We have had some severe weather out there even overnight, with some lines of thunderstorms that have been ongoing. Generally speaking, all of that is elevated. But as we go later into today, I do expect severe weather to become more of a concern, mainly in the Dixie Alley and as well as the Tennessee Valley, with damaging winds and tornadoes being a possibility. Now let's talk more about the severe weather potential for the next few days, and we'll begin with today, which is Saturday. We have a large slight risk of severe weather that goes from central Alabama back into North Texas, in addition to a marginal threat that goes from Georgia all the way back up into Wyoming. So a relatively large area for today. Our biggest concerns will be damaging winds and also large to potentially very large hail. It's a bit more of a conditional risk for severe weather in both north central Texas and also back into Oklahoma today. But if storms do fire this afternoon, which I do think there's a pretty good chance we're at least going to see one or two, there could be some very large hail in addition to tornadoes. And there's also a threat of large hail all the way back over into Alabama and Mississippi, but generally speaking, our hailstone sizes will be less than the size of golf balls. Our tornado risk for today is interesting. We have a 5% tornado risk in place in Oklahoma and as well as back near Wichita Falls, Texas. I honestly think that a strong or even large tornado is in play today in this environment, but it's very conditional on storms actually firing, which we do not know if that's going to happen. But definitely stay weather aware this afternoon and evening, because if a storm fires, it could get very dicey out here in Oklahoma or even Texas. A 2% tornado risk also exists back even into Mississippi, Alabama, and Arkansas, where a line of thunderstorms will be ongoing throughout the morning and into the afternoon, where a couple of tornadoes will be possible. I think the greatest chance of that will actually be back over in central northern Mississippi and maybe even into northwestern Alabama. I wouldn't rule out that they add a 5% tornado risk somewhere over here if confidence does grow. We also have a low chance of tornadoes back over in Colorado and as well as Wyoming, so keep an eye on that. That'll be mainly back over just around and east of Denver and perhaps back up near Cheyenne in southeastern Wyoming. Now, as we go into Sunday, our risk of severe weather will actually grow larger. We have a large slight risk of severe weather pretty much in the same areas from central and northern Alabama back into North Texas, and most of Oklahoma and Arkansas are in this slight risk. I wouldn't rule out an enhanced risk of severe weather in Oklahoma and Texas for very large hail or even damaging winds. Also, we have a marginal threat of severe weather that goes from South Carolina back into Denver and also towards Jacksonville, Florida. Main concerns for Sunday will once again be damaging winds and large to very large hail, especially out of those initial supercells, and I wouldn't even rule out some hail upwards of softball size with the storms that happen tomorrow. Additionally, our tornado risk is expected to be on the low side of things, but not zero across central southern Oklahoma and also parts of north central Texas. I personally think that this will grow in size as we get closer to this event happening. Even if we have a line of thunderstorms, we could get some embedded tornadoes in a line of storms. And then heading into Monday, our risk of severe weather will shift further down to the south to include the southern plains, with another slight risk of severe weather in place, where a line of thunderstorms will likely produce the potential for damaging winds, large hail, and as well as embedded tornadoes. Before we get too far into today's forecast, I need to shout out today's sponsor, Upside. When was the last time you got paid for something you were already going to buy? Well, Upside is a completely free app that turns everyday spending into actual cash. Just download it, link your card, and browse offers on gas, groceries, and even fast food. All you need to do is pick one, pay like normal, and then boom, cashback hits your account. It's that easy. And if you don't believe me, this is what it looks like when I go to the gas station. I pull up to the Racetrack gas station. Then I open up the Upside app and claim my 45 cents off per gallon of gas. And then I start filling up my car, and then I stand there happy knowing knowing I saved almost $10 by using the Upside app. I've been using Upside for over 5 years, and trust me, the savings are legit. To see how much you could earn, click the top link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen now to download the free Upside app. And for even more savings, use code VELOCITY on the Upside app to get 25 cents cash back on your first tank of gas. So what are you waiting for? Download the Upside app with the top link in the description below. Now back to the forecast. So here's the timing for severe weather today. We'll have a few showers and thunderstorms out there this morning, but the real activity will be as we go into the early afternoon hours across southern Arkansas and as well as northern Mississippi and western Tennessee. We'll likely have a slightly more organized line of thunderstorms than what the HRRR model is showing here, but I do think scattered damaging winds, some large hail, and a couple of tornadoes will be possible with this line. By around 4 o'clock, the line will start to fall apart as it moves into Mississippi. We may see an isolated discrete supercell or two fire off in northern Mississippi or northwest Alabama, and if that is to happen, there will be a better chance of a tornado out of one of those storms, as there will be enough low-level wind shear. And then by around 5 to 6 o'clock, the storms will continue becoming more scattered, and then by around 8 to 9 o'clock, I think most of our severe weather will be done in the southeast. And then heading into Sunday, there will be more scattered severe weather, mostly just damaging winds and hail, with a very low but non-zero tornado risk from Mississippi back into Georgia. And then for today's severe weather risk in the central and southern plains, our tornado risk is actually going to be very elevated across central and southwestern Oklahoma, which is why we have a 5% tornado risk in place. The big contingency, though, is storms actually firing and those being discrete. Generally speaking, we are going to have a lot of low-level wind shear here across Oklahoma and as well as north central Texas. So if a storm is able to fire and organize, we could easily see a tornado break out here in Oklahoma this evening. But I really think the greatest chance will probably be after sunset once our atmosphere destabilizes again, because one of the biggest problems for today is that we already have a line of thunderstorms that is moving across Oklahoma, because this is what it looks like right about now. We got a lot of storms already out there, mainly with damaging winds, but a non-zero tornado risk. And then as we go into the afternoon, those storms will clear out, but overall, a lot of the energy and moisture will be used up. So it's going to take some time for this environment to rebound. But once it does rebound later this afternoon, we could see a few storms fire near our dry line back over in the Texas Panhandle and as well as near Wichita Falls, Texas. But generally speaking, I don't think we're going to see much more than wind and hail out of these storms. I think the big event, if anything does happen today, will likely be supercells that fire after sunset. Right now, the HRRR model is showing one right around Oklahoma City around 10 to 11 o'clock with some very big hail and a potential for a significant tornado threat, and then multiple storms firing off as we go into the overnight hours. But the good news about these ones that fire off after midnight north of Oklahoma City will actually be to the north of where the greatest wind shear is, and generally speaking, these will mainly be hail and wind storms rather than a tornado threat. But it will definitely not be a zero tornado threat. It's just gonna be low back over northern Oklahoma overnight. And then heading into Sunday, our risk of severe weather will almost be all day. We'll have a few storms out there back over in Arkansas near the Mississippi River, mainly with a damaging wind risk. That'll be a cluster of storms. Right around 3 to 4 o'clock is when storms will begin to fire around the Texas Panhandle and central Oklahoma. Main concern initially will be very large hail, damaging winds, but there is a chance for a tornado or two with some of these supercells. By around 6 to 7 o'clock is where things start to get a bit more interesting. We're talking more about some discrete cells back over in western Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle, but what's going to be interesting is by around 8 to 9 o'clock, this will actually begin to cluster together and become more of a line of thunderstorms, which means damaging winds will be a dominant threat, probably by around 10 to 11 o'clock as these approach Oklahoma City and move across central and southern Oklahoma. And during the overnight hours, I expect that this line of storms will continue to produce significant damaging winds, some hail, and a non-zero tornado risk. And we may see a couple storms fire off out in front of that even in the overnight hours, which could also pose a threat for an isolated tornado in addition to large hail. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye here on both Saturday and Sunday. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. There is a chance of a live stream both today and tomorrow, and perhaps even as we head into Monday. And speaking more about Monday, I do expect that the line of storms will continue into the morning hours across Arkansas and as well as northeast Texas, may even re-intensify as we go into the afternoon in Louisiana, Mississippi, and southeast Texas. But what will really be the main concern is as we go into Monday afternoon, more supercells will fire off back over in central and north Texas, mainly with large hail and damaging winds. But again, a couple of tornadoes will be a possibility. And then this may become a cluster of storms during the late evening, but it's a little bit too early to tell what's exactly going to happen. And then that'll likely produce some damaging winds even as we go into the overnight hours across many areas in East Texas. So generally speaking, it's going to be a very active next 3 days. And though we do not currently have any enhanced risks of severe weather in place, which I think one is possible even even tomorrow or even Monday, I think generally speaking, we are going to be talking about a lot of storms, and we'll be talking about multiple rounds of storms in areas like the central and southern plains and back into the Dixie Alley. So definitely be ready here for a very active weather pattern here over the next 3 to 4 days, in addition to the potential for some significant severe weather. Generally speaking, though, a lot of our significant severe weather is going to be conditional, especially today, where storms, if they fire, they could produce significant hail in addition to strong tornadoes. So definitely make sure that you're staying weather aware and make sure you're subscribed to the channel, as we'll be keeping you posted with the latest. And if there's any need to go live today or tomorrow, we will be live. And then beyond this weekend, we are expecting a very active weather pattern to continue across the southern plains and the southeast. Even as we end to Tuesday, there will likely be even more scattered severe weather from Texas back into the Dixie Alley, with damaging winds, large hail being the main concerns. On Wednesday, we are talking about a fairly similar weather pattern, mainly across the Dixie Alley, and then back over in the high plains, more severe weather will be a possibility. On Thursday, it's going to pretty much be the same thing, more severe weather, again, in the central and southern plains. I mean, it's going to basically be endless here, but this is pretty typical for this time of the year. We usually see a lot of these types of severe weather events where they're not necessarily widespread, they're more scattered, but they can also still be significant. So it's definitely a good idea to continue to stay weather aware. There's a pretty high chance that we'll at least be live a couple of times this week with severe weather coverage. And then eventually by next weekend, I think things start to get a little bit quieter across the Great Plains, and then things will be a little bit more active along the East Coast. But as we go into June, we really don't know what's going to happen, but I do think the Midwest, the northern and central plains, and the Ohio Valley will begin to wake up again with more severe weather on the horizon. So definitely stay weather aware, have multiple ways to receive warnings here over the next few days. And again, if there is a need to go live, we will be live on this channel, so make sure you're subscribed. And lastly, one of the biggest concerns this week, if you're back over in the Ozarks, is the potential for significant flooding. We are currently forecasting a large area, even back over into Tennessee, northern Mississippi, and Alabama, to pick up a widespread 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. Some areas near Joplin and even near Tulsa could pick up as much as 8 to 10 inches of rainfall. So definitely be weather aware here when it comes to the flooding risk, in addition to the severe weather potential. And also, if you're anywhere in the red, we are anticipating 2 to 4 inches of rainfall, so definitely be ready for that. Anywhere from Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, all the way back over into the Carolinas. And as always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. And a huge shout out to Upside for sponsoring today's forecast. If you want to earn cash back at restaurants and gas stations, you can download the free Upside app with the top link in the description below and get 25 cents off every gallon on your next tank of gas. And also a huge thank you to everybody that supports our sponsors, in addition to our channel in general. I really do appreciate you guys a lot. It helps us be able to do what we do here on this channel. Thank you all so much for watching. And again, we may be live later today. If not, we might even be live tomorrow. If not, we'll have another video tomorrow morning talking all about the upcoming severe weather here over the next few days.